Apologies for my Spanish. As you can tell, it's very close to English. So it looks like we started with an English presentation. We're finishing the session with an English presentation. Really sorry about that. We're taking a very long time. So if anyone is just want to stretch your legs, hands, and so on, please wait till the end so you can stretch to ask questions, right? So I'm David Monteiro, like it was just mentioned. So Qatium or Qatium, depending on the language you you say it, is what I'm going to talk about today. So what is Qatium? Okay, so Qatium is a water management platform. So what does that mean? What can you do with it? We talked a lot about data, about technology here today. Yes, you need data. Yes, you need to manage it. Yes, it needs to be in a good quality or decent quality, decent frequency. You need to have some historical, and it helps you to do some things. But you can even start with barely in few things. And Qatium is here to help you make decisions, right? So the idea is that with all this data, you can actually combine it and have it in a single platform and actually do something with it. And so we just wanted to start with that quote, right? So everyone is talking about AI, everyone's talking about a lot of things, especially in this session. And so the future is already here, it's just not evenly distributed yet. So when we think about all utilities of all sizes in Spain and outside of Spain, they don't all have access to those technologies. They don't all have 15 years of experience like Global Omnium was just showing off earlier. So a lot of them just don't have access to all that information. And so that's a little bit where Qatium comes in, where we want to provide solution to utilities of all sizes, right? We don't want to alienate anyone, whether big or small. Did I just break it? Almost. So the way we approach basically data, water industry, and so on is by thinking of what I've just said, right? Is like the water technology is not accessible to everyone, so it's often not user-friendly. So when we're thinking about some of the interfaces, I'm not pointing fingers, some of the interfaces during the whole conferences, there are some interfaces that are really focused on engineers, right? So it's like if you don't know what this functionality is and so on, it's really hard to actually get any insights from it. But it's also expensive, not scalable. So not scalable in the sense that this information is siloed, right? It's sometimes just inside the minds of operators, inside the minds of engineers. Is sometimes not digitalized also. And so operators basically lack resources. And so what we want to do is really empower them and give them access to all this great information, great insights, and ideally create a little bit of value on top of it, especially for those operators, in order to make decision quicker, faster, without having to ask anyone and actually be empowered to do so. So again, right button, yes. So mission for Qatium, one mission, una misión, right? Is that the right translation? So making water management available to all, right? So if you think about Qatium, you probably, if you've seen my demo yesterday, you saw me talking about two tiny utilities in the States. So one was servicing like 3,000 people, the other one 5,000. The largest we're talking about is utilities in the UK or elsewhere in Southeast Asia and so on, where they're servicing millions of people, right? 5,000 people is basically less than their actual staff. So we're talking about both extreme, but everything in between also. And so how do we do that, right? So what is Qatium all about? So what we do is help you digitalize all your operations. This comes through digitizing, obviously. So one part is the data, right? So we had a lot of talks from previously from all the other ponentes, the one that had the red cards like me today. And so they were talking about, okay, bringing all this data together, layer after layer, and making sure that everything is in there. And so what can you do with it is digitizing it, yes, but digitalizing it and making sure that your operations are also in there, right? So using all that information for decision making. Then we have the connecting part. So that's really the exciting part as far as I'm aware, along with all the rest, obviously. Everything is going to get more and more exciting from here. So connecting is really all about integrating with other data sources, other siloed data. So whether we're thinking about engineers and their models, whether we're thinking about the GIS department and their obviously GIS data, but also SCADA, AMI data, any kind of sensor, IoT, all of it feeding inside Qatium. And so all this live, historical, future predictions, maybe? And so all of this coming in all together to allow to those operators to actually perform better, have faster decision, and so on. And the last one, which is customized. So Qatium is not actually a product, but it's actually a platform, right? So what does that mean really concretely for you? So it depends on the you that you are, right? So if you're the user, it means that you have access to a marketplace, and it's very easy to just say, okay, well, I'm looking for a plugin. So that's how we call our apps and panels inside Qatium. So I'm looking for a plugin that just shows water quality. Or I'm looking for something that allows me to display my pressures in a different color, in a different granularity, and so on. So you'll be able to find all that in a marketplace. And that marketplace is populated with plugins from ourselves, directly developed by ourselves, but also any partners, casual coders, and also utilities. So we actually see utilities that are excited to participate in that marketplace to share that knowledge without actually sharing their intellectual property, which is a very interesting point. And you also have the other side, right? So I talked about it a little bit, like casual coders, developers, and so on have access to the other side, which is being able to share their knowledge, their intellectual property, and potentially get something from it, right? So just like any app in your app store or Play Store, you actually might have a price attached to it. So actually you can sell your knowledge, your experience, and so on. And so once you have all that all together, what can you do inside Qatium? So simulations, so right, so I mentioned a little bit about GIS data, I mentioned a little bit about hydraulic modeling. And so this is allowing you to do some planning of operations and any changes independently, right? So very easily being able to click around on the map, find your valve that you're actually wondering whether the PRV set point should be 40 or 30 meters, and actually finally make a decision and stop arguing with your boss, your colleague, or even the two people in your head. So what does that do also on the next step? Is like, okay, well, we've got all this live data coming in through, so what can we do also with it? Well, some warnings, alerts, being able to react to anything that's happening in the network. So having all those really nice animations allow you to very quickly understand what's happening. So if you actually come to our booth, because we have a booth just right there, I'll be able to show you an actual example of a utility that could see literally on the map really clearly as day what was the impact of a major burst inside the network with live data. And so they were able to really quickly repair it, see who was impacted by it, and all that really, really efficiently. And the last one is enhancement. So, okay, you've basically seen and tested some simulations. You actually saw your warnings, emergency planning, whatever it may be. But then the next step is like, okay, how do I optimize my operations, right? So now I understand how the network works. I can very quickly plan my response to any emergency. And so now it's about enhancements, optimizing how my pump is functioning, optimizing what is my PRV set points, and so on. Even like doing some demand management and thinking about, okay, how is the consumer habits, right? So where do I have high points of consumption and where do I have low ones? When is actually happening and not? So one use case that we had was from a utility in California, and it turns out that everyone had their sprinklers, so just water flowing for the garden at 6 a.m. It was becoming very critical to the point where the utility was like, well, David, I'm actually looking for something that can tell me how can I lower that peak and just put it at another point. How many of my customers do I need to reach out and ask them and supply them and like really supplicate them into like moving that sprinkler system from 6 a.m. to 4 a.m. Otherwise, I will have to dig a new well, and I'm not telling you how many millions of dollars that would have cost. So all those kind of ideas, all those kind of questions can be answerable directly inside Qatium. And very easily, you can create and start your journey on Qatium. So the first thing is just creating your account. And if you don't believe me, just go to qatium.com. You don't even have to click, but please click. Create your account and actually see how easy it is to get started. So the second part is building your model, right? I was talking about it, digitalizing your model here. So whether you have just GIS data, whether you have hydraulic model, if you have ideally some historical data, connecting your data and so on, and that's it. Third is you're on board. It's a very intuitive platform, and I invite you to have a look. Don't take me for my word. Please test it for yourself. So just go out and just try it out. I see someone stretching. No. And so in terms of other use cases, I've mentioned a couple right now during the presentation, but being able to see the impact, here are a few more, sorry. And so here is like seeing the impact of the shutdown, so trying to reply to a burst, the example that I gave earlier, and be able to understand what is happening, who's impacted, who's out of water, who has low pressure, what assets are at risk because of high pressure. And being able to notify the customers, having a list of those customers, integrating with a CRM, with any kind of notification system, billing system, calculating what is my customer minute lost, and seeing the impact of the operation that I'm planning in order to fix that burst. Managing demand, what I was just talking about. Fire flows is quite a big one in the US. Maybe not so much here, trying to understand what is the capacity in terms of firefighting of a particular hydrant, of a particular new development, for example. Flushing, cleaning pipes and so on, but also managing tanks, system pressure, so whether you're looking at the tank autonomy, about like where to locate your new tank, or whether you're actually thinking about optimizing that non-revenue water, bring that efficiency a little bit up, right? So managing your PRV a little bit better. But you can do that also not for one network, but multiple networks. So that's where utilities of all size also come into play. So we're providing a solution not only for small utilities, but also for mid-sized ones and large ones, where they can manage small networks, large networks, one network, multiple network. Don't let me say network too many times. But also, like I was just talking about, non-revenue water, right? So being able to have some analytics to understand the efficiency, where to focus your efforts, where's inside your network, which DMA, where, everyone has limited resources. We have limited resources, right? An organization has just so much time, so much people, so much money. And so being able to understand what is the priority, where should we focus, is quite crucial. And last but not least is all of this inside a really collaborative place, so the browser. And talking a little bit deeper into the marketplace and the SDK. So how did we build all this, right? So we used our SDK, so software development kit, that I don't know if the screen is seeable by everyone. I can move away. But the idea is that we're basically drinking our own champagne or eating our own dog food. For those who are familiar with the saying. So basically, we're using the technology that we're making available to others to build on top of Qatium. So if it works for us, it should work for the other ones. If we can build all those panels, all those functionalities, it should work also for others. If it doesn't work for us, it obviously won't work for others. So we're actually been doing that for a couple of years now, and so we're really in a robust situation in terms of SDK and so on. And so I invite everyone to have a look. I'm interested in whether it's the marketplace, the side of purchasing plugins and looking at how it works, or building plugins and contributing to the platform. And so we have 3 parts, how we divide our plugins, whether it's build, extend, integrate, a little bit what I was mentioning earlier, right? So it's just about deciding how you want to interact with data that, again, we talked a lot during that presentation before. Apparently we're still good for time. The next presentation is in half hour. So, so here is a little bit, a couple of use cases and stories that I wanted to share with you today. So both cases are going to be in the States for all the state lovers here. Hence my presentation in English. And so here we're just for a little bit of context here. We're talking about a very small utility, so 50-mile pipes. This one is around 5,000 customers served, and so this superintendent, which is essentially a operator's manager, is using Qatium for his shutdown, for detecting leaks like you're seeing right now on the screen. And the question is, like, why are you not doing it, right? So if a utility as small as that one can do it with limited information, they still don't even have their SCADA connected to Qatium yet. And so if they can do it, you can do it too, right? So being able to use the tools inside Qatium to have your operators actually be the one finding new ways to improve the network, rather than always going back to engineering, having delays and so on, all resources that might be focused on capital and strategic planning being reallocated to operational modeling. So everyone gets frustrated, and it helps no one. So just for, again, a little bit of context here, really, really small utility. It's actually, they don't produce any water. They're buying from their neighbors. So any kind of drop, there's a saying, this is like every single drop counts, and I think I saw it on Siemens marketing just out there. But here is really the case, right? So there is, for every single drop, Steven is telling me, okay, well, I know exactly how much water is costing me. Every time I wake up in the morning and I look at the amount of leakage that we have, the amount of non-revenue water, it just goes like my heart just like twists 1/4 of inch every time. So it's really, really trying to bring that those case studies and those people some tools so they can do it themselves, so they can get that non-revenue water as low as possible, that they can get that efficiency as high as possible. And here's another example, Lakewood. So that was the Californian utility that I was mentioning about earlier. And we're in a different size, right? So here it's 60,000 people. It's in actually close to LA. So you can imagine that it's a very urban area. So very gridlocked and so on. A lot of traffic. Don't go there to drive ever. But you can see that they already have 14 sources of water. So those are wells, right? So they're literally like digging into the floor to get some water. And so they didn't want to add a 15th one, and so they needed a solution. And with that is the end. I promise. This is the last slide. It's just like I gave 2 examples, but this is not obviously the only utilities that we've been working on. And so a lot of other utilities out there that are success stories for Qatium, and hopefully you will be too. Oh. Well, it's all black. Thank you very much. Thank you very much and apologies for my Spanish.